is Diane McDowell. I will be your trainer for the Drug Free Workplace Safety Program, Employee Education. As we go through, our objective will be to look at the impact of drugs and alcohol in the workplace, review the Drug Free Workplace Program, workplace consequences for substance use and abuse, and the choice to use drugs and alcohol, and then the health effects for drugs and alcohol. And then we'll look at resources for help. As we go through, understand that the Drug Free Workplace Program has 5 elements. The first element, the written policy, is designed to prevent discrimination, violation of employee rights, and to ensure confidentiality. I always suggest that as new policies come out in the workplace, that everyone review that policy in its entirety so that you are able to ask the questions that are important to you. Your manager, supervisor, and program administrators are available to help answer those questions for you. The last page of your policy is an acknowledgement of receipt. You will be asked to sign and return that acknowledgement of receipt. The employee education is an awareness-raising effort. It gives employees information about the drug-free workplace policy, alcohol and drug issues, and one thing I always, and how it impacts the workplace. One area for all of us, many of us are parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and the drugs that we will talk about in this program are the same drugs that impact the world that our children live in. And so in order to protect them, it is important that we be educated in order to protect them. Supervisor training gives frontline supervisors the skills and insight necessary to enforce this program. And drug testing is intended to deter use, detect problems, and allow for appropriate corrective action. The 5th and final step is the Employee Assistance Plan, which is an action step. It gives us the resources for employees who voluntarily seek help, are referred by management, or test positive for drugs. When we look at the impact of drugs in the workplace, it is important first for all of us to recognize that regardless of what industry you work in, be it the medical industry, general industry, truck driving, even police officers, construction, important for all of us to recognize that people who use and abuse drugs and alcohol don't leave this risky, dangerous behavior at home. They bring it into the workplace, they put themselves, their coworkers, and the general public at risk by the nature of their use. Life in the 21st century. When we look at the problems surrounding drugs and alcohol, it's important to recognize that with only 5% of the world's population, the United States accounts for 60% of the illegal drug use. We have and have had for a long time a drug crisis in this country. 90% of alcoholics and 77% of drug addicts are employed. And on average, 17% of the workforce has a substance abuse problem. Other areas of impact. It's important to recognize people who use and abuse drugs and alcohol are 33 to 50% less productive. They are absent 3 weeks more per year and tardy 3 times more often than their non-abusing counterparts. 38 to 50% of all workers' comp claims involve drug and or alcohol. They utilize their medical benefits 300 to 400% more than anyone else in the workplace. And it's estimated that 50 to 80% of the pilferage, the loss, the theft in the workplace is attributed to the person who uses it or abuses drugs and alcohol. Substance abusers admitted the following. 64% of them admitted their usage affected their work performance. 44% of them sold drugs to their coworkers. And 18% of them admitted to stealing from their coworkers to pay for their drugs. The workplace profile of a substance abuser is 76% white, 43% are women, 89% are over the age of 18. Let's look for a minute at the drugs and really understanding the drugs. When we look at and we talk about alcohol in the depressant family, you probably know why alcohol is abused. It's abused because of the relaxation, it's sociably acceptable, and it is a cheap high. But did you know alcohol is a depressant that decreases the response of the central nervous system? It greatly impairs judgment and vision. Large quantities can cause liver and heart damage. Alcohol remains in the body 1 hour per drink. Let me qualify what a drink is, because most people think if it comes in one container, that means it's one drink. To our bodies, one drink is 12 ounces of beer, 4 ounces of wine, 1 ounce of a hard liquor are considered one drink. And the body needs about an hour to process and eliminate that alcohol. 8 hours is needed to ensure sobriety. Cold showers and coffee do not quicken sobriety. Alcohol is the most frequently abused substance in our society. And in the workplace, there are higher rates of absenteeism, tardiness. People are inattentive and very accident prone. Side note about alcohol. Many people after a night of drinking will reach for a bottle of pain relievers to reduce the hangover the next day. One of the things to recognize is that if that active ingredient in the pain reliever is acetaminophen, which is the active ingredient in products like Tylenol, Excedrin, and about 600 other over-the-counter formulas, it is a cocktail for disaster. When acetaminophen and alcohol come together in the liver, they cause a condition called acute acetaminophen overdosing. Sends about 50,000 people a year to emergency rooms, kills about 150 people every single year. So no combination of acetaminophen and alcohol should ever be used together. One of the things to recognize and one of the things to always remember is that if you directly observe a violation of the drug-free workplace policy or obvious on-the-job impairment you believe possesses an immediate danger to anyone in the workplace, don't delay or ignore the situation. Act to prevent the worker from committing the unsafe practice, if at all possible. Notify your supervisor or foreman immediately of the dangers in the workplace, and please understand that all information will be kept strictly confidential.